So it became glaringly evident to me, we can't destroy the most important ecosystem for our own survival, and what's going to happen to us? What's going to happen to our species? And through the process of making Sharkwater, Sharkwater was like a love story to sharks. It was for the species that I loved. And when I was making Sharkwater, I was really pessimistic about humans and about our species, thinking that we'd done a lot of damage to this world and to ecosystems and animals that are amazing. And I didn't really like humans that much. But I liked sharks better. But releasing Sharkwater, changed everything for me, because people actually, stood up and they went to bat and they started fighting for sharks. And like I said earlier, the amount of countries that have banned shark finning, went from 16 to more than 100. And I started getting phone calls from people saying we're doing something. And the one thing that changed and finally made me realize the movie we had to make was I got a phone call from a 6th grade class on the island of Saipan in Micronesia. And Micronesia is sort of in between Indonesia and Tahiti. And they said, I've shown my class your documentary, and they're pissed. And they're going to do something about it. I don't know what yet, but they're going to do something about it. So I sent them a bunch of Sharkwater DVDs, a whole box. Said, whatever I can do, let me know. And they called me back a month later and said, we're doing it. Can you come to Saipan? And I flew to Saipan. I met a class of 20 grade 6s who were so excited and so inspired to change the world, and said, we're going to do this. We're going to make Saipan ban shark fins. And at the time, there were bans on shark finning all around the world, but there weren't bans on the importation of shark fins anywhere in the world, which meant you can fin as many sharks as you want as long as you put the fins on a shipping boat before you brought them into port, not a fishing boat, which is a massive loophole, a container ship-sized loophole. So this class was trying to ban shark fins, so you couldn't even have a shark fin in your hand. You couldn't even own one. And like 2 weeks later, I saw the governor sign a bill to ban shark fins in Saipan, making Saipan the 2nd place in the world to entirely ban shark fins, all because a grade 6 class just said, I want to change this. Yeah.
So I'm going to ask one more question, and then we're going to open it up to Q&A from the audience. We do have a microphone in the center if anybody has a question and wants to start lining up. So you became a little bit, discouraged with the way the world was heading, aren't we all? And you started going to these United Nations conferences, right? The COP conferences, right? UNIPCC or whatever, one of those acronyms. I should know this. And then you got discouraged because you figured that everything was all incrementalist. Like they just wanted to do these things, 10% emissions by this date and 20% lower emissions by this date. And you came to the conclusion that, no, this is all, for lack of better terms, bullshit. And we need to do 100%, and we need to do it now. This is a crisis that we have to battle. And that led to revolution, which the name speaks for itself. You're basically calling on a different type of movement where it's almost like and correct me if I'm wrong, but kind of a no holds barred, not a violent revolution, but one that's actually we're seeing evidence of it maybe in the Occupy movements or Bill McKibben's 350.org and other organizations that are starting to stand, united and block a lot of projects. Can you explain that a little bit? Explain what you hope to achieve with Revolution, which was shown at the Toronto International Film Festival and got great reviews, and we'll be able to see it in theaters hopefully sometime early next year.
So it became pretty clear, I think partially because I don't know politics and I'm not trying to find the easy way out. It became really clear that we need to change the system. So the systems we've built on this planet, we built when we had an infinite amount of everything. Our system of economy, our system of governance, our system of growth, we built when we had a couple 100 million people on this planet. And a couple 100 million people could fly the world in jets and eat whatever they wanted and or burn and destroy almost everything, but there was enough. Now that we've got 7 billion people on this planet, we're hitting significant barriers in everything. 75% of the world's forests are gone. By 2048, we face a world with 9 billion people, no fish, no reefs, no rainforests. Half of the soil in China has eroded into the sea. 20% of us don't have enough safe drinking water. 1 billion people around the world already are hungry. That's expected to double in 20 years. So, we got to change the system. And everyone keeps talking about how do we, save the environment and keep economic growth at 4 or 5%. And that's just a collision that, we shouldn't need to negotiate. And I think instead of trying to scrape by on this planet with a degraded natural world, we should be thriving on this planet, and if we fix some of the design flaws inherent in the way we've built society, Earth could be paradise for us and for millions of other species, and that's what we should be going for. We shouldn't be talking about capping our emissions and how much pollution we can put into the atmosphere that won't kill people. We should be not polluting the atmosphere. We should be not emitting, except we've got a lot of systems in place right now that are preventing that. So 51 of the world's 100 biggest economies are corporations. That's an enormous amount of power, and it's pretty clear by the actions of governments and corporations these days that the status quo and keeping things going is enormously profitable, right? Selling stuff to you is enormously profitable. Packaging up the living natural world and giving it to you and eventually turning it into garbage is enormously profitable. So the kinds of change we need in this world, it's not changing your light bulbs and buying a Prius. Right? 7 billion people with solar panels and Priuses and compact fluorescent light bulbs is still going to destroy everything. Right? We need to change the way we live. We need to change absolutely everything. So we're figuring if we can educate everybody, we can bring in this kind of change. The changes that brought about the end of slavery and cultural, racial, gender equality, these happened because everybody knew what needed to change. Everybody knew we needed equality. But right now, what percentage of the planet knows what's going on with our environment, knows about ocean acidification, knows that our individual actions, our governments, and our corporations are sort of running away with the world we depend on for survival? Very small, very small. So I think education is the most important thing, and if we could bring this information to everybody, we can get where we need to go. And it's clear, it's very clear to me after making this movie and after seeing Canada's role, particularly in all this, that our governments and our corporations aren't charting a path forward to sustainability for us. That they're not, so what do we have? What's going to guide us? And I think we have humanity that's going to guide us. And that's our emotions. That's what we feel good about and what we feel bad about. And if everyone's educated, then we'll feel bad about engaging in the behaviors or the products that are destructive for our life support system and for those of others, and feel good about the things that are beneficial for the planet and that support human life on Earth. And we had the opportunity in this movie, when we ran out of money, and had virtually no resources to make this movie, I had to sort of put it out there to the universe to give me the opportunities to make this movie. And every opportunity that came to me was from young people, from kids, saying, I'm on the Canadian youth delegation to the UN climate conference. Do you want to come and be a part of this? Or I'm hosting an environmental rally in Ottawa on Parliament Hill. Do you want to come? And so I got to go to the UN climate conference in Cancun, and I was at the 16th UNFCCC, the UN Conference to the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. And every year, the world's best and brightest meet for 2 weeks to try to come to an agreement to stop climate change. And they haven't done it yet. And there's a reason for that. There's a reason for that. And what I saw at this climate conference, the last one I was at, was Canada's role in all of this. And I think in Canada we have this impression that we're a great country environmentally. We birthed Greenpeace. We're the home of the environmental movement. We've got these vast, wide open spaces and lots of natural resources and the biggest coastline. And I think the impression amongst Canadians is that we're a great country environmentally, and when we do love the environment. But at the UN climate conference, I was responsible for accepting the award on behalf of Canada for being the worst country environmentally, and for being the country that had done the most to impede the climate negotiations. Not just not capping emissions in our own country, but stopping other countries from coming to agreements to cap their emissions. And the reason they're doing this is because we have the tar sands in Canada. And the tar sands is the biggest, most destructive industrial project on the planet. If they fulfill all the leases of the tar sands, they'll have destroyed an area the size of Florida. And what the tar sands is a mixture of oil and dirt and ground. So to get the oil out of it, they basically got to mine out the ground and boil it down to get the oil. And it's enormously carbon intensive. It emits far more carbon than any other form of oil does. And so because Canada's going to get $300 billion over the next 25 years from the oil sands. Canada doesn't want to do anything whatsoever to limit or cap their emissions. They see their emissions continuing to rise. And so for the last 16, 17, 18 years, while every country has been making concrete steps to try to reduce their emissions because our oceans depend on it, because future generations depend on it, Canada's trying to stop that. So it sort of made me quite pessimistic in many ways, because, why would Canada do that? The only reason why Canada would be continuing to exploit the tar sands at the level they are when we already know about ocean acidification and climate change is because they're making a lot of money on it. And it's not because the entire population of Canada is saying, yes, let's do this. It's because I think our governments and our corporations are a little too tightly entwined. But I think the kind of change we need in the world is monumental. So we came up with a thing. I came up with a little a conservation group called United Conservationists. I'll read you our little mandate, and it's one of the ways I think we can get out of this. Because I think we need to not get depressed at this information. We need to just think of it as like we're at war, and we need to go to battle, and we need to fix this. Don't wallow in pity and say, oh no, and this sucks, this is going bad. We have an opportunity in this to come together as a species and grow and figure it out and learn and evolve and step it up. Like when Martin Luther King and the Civil Rights Movement brought an end to slavery, there were 1 million people on the National Monument in Washington, D.C. And the biggest environmental protest or rally we've had in Washington, D.C. thus far has been 15,000 people. So we really have an opportunity to do this and to figure it out. We just have to do it right. And those kids in Saipan taught me that it's not hard to change the world. We just haven't tried yet. If a bunch of grade 6s can change the world, then we can too. And as I flew out of Saipan, I stopped on the island of Guam next door, and I went to do another talk at a university or a school, as anywhere I can. And I talked to a grade 7 class. And the grade 7s had already heard via Facebook and the internet what the grade 6s had done on Guam. And they said, well, if a grade 6 class can do it, then we can do it too. And I said, if you guys manage to get Guam to ban shark fins, I'll come back and teach you all how to scuba dive. So they filled the Senate halls so much so, not because they wanted to dive, but because they cared about sharks. They filled the Senate halls so much so that the fishermen couldn't get in to testify. And the kids testified till 2 in the morning, and Guam became the 3rd place in the world to entirely ban shark fins.
All right, if you could read that, and then we'll go directly to the questions, because I want to get enough questions in from the audience. Okay.
So I started a little charity called United Conservationists, and we were the group that helped push the ban on shark fins in Toronto to make Toronto fin-free. And this is our little mandate. United Conservationists, we're realists, dreamers, and revolutionaries. We believe in Earth, life, and that 3.5 billion years of evolution created a world of unmatched productivity and diversity, perfect for humans, and that by undoing the damage wrought by short-sighted human expansion and greed, Earth can be paradise for humans and millions of other species. We believe the health of our life support system to be of paramount importance, and that the design flaws of pre-revolutionary civilization can be undone by an active and aware population, restoring ecosystems, and achieving balance between human ambitions and our living world. We believe capitalism has subverted democracy, and the unfulfilling path of growth sold to us in the modern world will lead to environmental and societal collapse. United Conservationists won't stop until a sustainable and equitable human population is reached. Human consumption is in balance with the natural world, and the world's ecosystems are restored to full capacity, meaning lakes and rivers are unpolluted and teeming with fish, and thriving diverse forested ecosystems cover most of the land. We believe this to be humanity's greatest challenge, and that the size of this adversary will call the best in humanity to the height of their potential, ushering in a new era of human evolution. We believe all this to be achievable and probable within our lifetimes. United Conservationists are backed by 3.5 billion years of evolution, love, and humanity's ingenuity, and that even if you can't envision this future yet, your children can. And instead of shrinking in the face of such a challenge, this new generation of heroes will grow to defeat it and achieve paradise on Earth. We think we should be going for a best-case scenario. Like, if we design this right, this could be amazing. Lake Ontario could be full of fish. We shouldn't be talking about how much you're allowed to pollute. We should not be allowing pollution. We shouldn't be talking about how many parts per million. The pollution that we allow into the environment is in our bodies. The same concentrations of all the heavy metals and PCBs and pesticides that are out there are in your body. You've got a pound of plastic in your body on average. Not because you've been eating plastic, because that's what exists in the natural world. So we don't just pollute our environment, we pollute ourselves. And if you put caps on this, if you started putting the laws in the right places and got the rules of the road right, you would unleash humanity's ingenuity to fix these problems. We've made enough stuff. If you want to manufacture something, we should be manufacturing it out of our waste. If we put caps on pollution, no pollution, you would unleash ingenuity to figure out how to do this stuff without it. But right now we're subsidizing the bad stuff. That's why the tar sands get $1.4 billion a year of your dollars for the bad stuff. That's why we're subsidizing fisheries that drag huge nets through the ocean that scoop up every animal and the ecosystem in its pathway. We're giving them money.
Okay, can we go to questions? The people at the mic are going to be angry at me for asking that last question.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your inspiration. My name is Gordon Chamberlain. I'm a member of an international legal campaign. And I'd like to inspire everybody here who is capable of asking the question, are political and corporate leaders capable of ecocide? Ecocide is the large-scale, long-term destruction of our environment. Was the BP toxic disaster an act of ecocide? Was the plundering of cod?
Could you ask a question, please?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Was the plundering of cod an act of ecocide? September, the UK and Scottish Green Party adopted prosecuting ecocide. Are you aware of this campaign, and do you think they're capable of ecocide?
About 2010, there was the People's Accord in Cochabamba. And I think this is the sort of direction we need to be going in. And I think prosecuting people, like, it should be illegal to destroy our environment. And I think once people are educated, the radical will be radically reconsidered. It'll be radical to run around the world, burn our life support system, and profit from it. And as soon as everyone's aware of that, the few percent that are doing that will be prosecuted and told to stop. And the People's Accord in Cochabamba came together in Bolivia and gave Mother Nature rights above and beyond corporations. And I think, knowing that we depend on life for our life support system, if we gave Mother Nature rights, then corporations wouldn't be allowed to destroy it. So I think, that kind of thing is fundamental in the change we need to get. And yeah, for sure, people should be prosecuted for destroying the environment.
And closer to home is the mega quarry ecocide. We're working on that debate.
Hello. Next question.
Nice shirt.
Yeah.
Thank you. After all the things that you've done around the world, have you ever been attacked by any of the animals you've come in contact with?
Have I ever been attacked by any of the animals? Yep.
Just men, right?
Yeah.
Humans.
Yeah, the thing with sharks, we spent 200, 300 days a year underwater with sharks, never had a problem. But people in the movie, way crazier than sharks are. And the thing with sharks, like, you got to understand, sharks are predictable. They'll either want to eat you or mate with you, and they're not going to want to mate with you because they've got 2 more senses than you, and they can tell you're not a shark. And they've been eating stuff that live in the oceans for 400+ million years, so they're not going to want to eat you. But humans, we've got ulterior motives. We've got jealousy, and we've got money, and we've got all these other things that make our behavior unpredictable. In the book, I describe a few times when some animals attacked me. We got chased into a river in Borneo by an elephant. And I had to run and jump on the back of a canoe. What else? Any others?
Well, there's the python with the personality disorder, but that was a pet.
Yeah, I had some pretty gnarly pets. That I had an olive python that when they breed snakes, like the pets that I've had were captive bred, and when they breed them, they don't really put a lot of energy into taking care of them, so they're often kept in like Tupperware containers. So by the time you get this pet or whatever, it associates any movement with food. It's just like, yeah. But no, most of the time I've been fortunate enough to be relatively unscathed.
Okay, thank you.
My name's Liam Dutcher. I'm 15 years old, grade 11, and the first time I saw Sharkwater, it was just wow, just complete contrast from before I saw the movie and afterwards. Recently, I attended the Ontario Youth Summit, and we had I don't remember his name, but the speaker, he was talking about the Spirit Bear, about the whole foundation to help save the Spirit Bear. And I was wondering if you would mind at all just coming to the Ontario Youth Summit next year and maybe giving a little talk.
Love to.
And also, I'm a big fan.
Yeah. I'd love to, for sure. I think the youth is probably the most important ingredient in all this, and I talk about that a little bit in the book. Every revolution in the past has been led by the people most directly influenced by the atrocity, and a lot of people in the middle that are middle-aged or older right now are looking at this world and going, I'm not going to be here. But kids look at this world and they imagine 2048 with no fish, no reefs, no rainforests, and 9 billion of us fighting over the last remaining resources, and they're wondering, what's their life and what's their family going to be like at that time. So I think, for that reason, particularly, kids are going to be a huge ingredient, but also because, they haven't sort of drinking the Kool-Aid already. A lot of people, adults, are in this world. We've got mortgages, we've got cars, we are in jobs, and it's a whole different confrontation to confront, the entire life you've led and sort of see that as being negative for the environment. To see that we've been destructive. But kids, they don't have all that stuff. They're not already in that system, and they can look at the world and look at the issues we're facing and go, okay, what do we need to do about it? And that's why I think, kids don't rationalize their way out of taking any of these actions. This is the most important thing. This is the biggest issue humanity's ever faced. We've got to do something about it and do it now, so let's do it.
Thank you.
Is there 2 more people in line? Or 3? 2. So I think we have to cut it off after the 2 of you, so no one else, unfortunately, can walk up to the mic. I think we want to save some time so that Rob can sign some books before the end of this event. I want to give an applause to Rob. Thanks very much.